Episode 4 of What the Football underway. Amy and Suzy back with you. Happy to be with you, of course. Michael Irvin will join us shortly because we're on a Hall of Fame kick. I like the fact that we've got back-to-back Hall of Famers. That's kind of cool. Follow us at WT Football Podcast on Instagram. We don't have a Twitter because there's no way in hell I should ever have access to a Twitter account.
Oh, that would
Not
be
that
great.
I would take care of it.
That would be great.
No, I looky-loo on Riches every so often. But
Looky-loo, I like that. I say my husband, I say he lurks. Yeah. Looky-loo is better than lurking.
I looky-loo, which is always like, please don't press something. Please don't control your temper. Don't get your instinct. Like sometimes I want to like something and I'm like, although I think I should learn that from Antonio Pearson, Davante Adams, maybe don't knee-jerk reaction like something because you never know who's watching it. But if you want to watch us, we're on YouTube on Rich's channel. Just go over to Rich's channel, find us on that. You can find us and a ton of other stuff there as well. But Aim, let's talk about what it's like to be winless, right? We know it's been sleepless in Seattle and it's winless in Jacksonville. And it looks like it's getting a little testy down there. Don't you think that, now that we know that the Dolphins lost to the Titans, the Jaguars become the only winless team. So how bad do you think things are down there?
Well, let's add to everything you just shared that going into the season, the team owner, Shad Khan, said the expectation is to win now. And when someone followed up and asked him, did you really mean that? He doubled down and said, yeah, I meant it. The expectation is that we will win now. And he added to that this is the best team that they have ever assembled. So those are the expectations of the owner going into the season. They're now 0-4. And I'll tell you something, Suzy, those comments that the owner made are not just resonating among the coaches and in the locker room and in the GM's office and the football personnel office. Comments like that resonate throughout an organization. There is no one in the Jaguars organization that doesn't have Shad Khan's preseason comments in mind. And I will tell you, in that organization now, there will be employees who are sidling up to the owner. There are employees that are going to be looking to distance themselves from all the troubles. When I joined the Raiders, someone said to me, look out for this because you're going to see a lot of this through your career. I confess, he did it. And that's true. You're going to have people in that organization that are looking to sidle up to the owner. You're going to have people in that organization that right now are looking for their next opportunity, that they know what's coming, and they're calling around the league and they're calling others to say, what do you got for me? What do you got for me? And there will be people in that organization looking to throw others under the bus. I lived through that in an organization with people sidling up to the owner and trying to move people out of the way. And someday, if we have time, I'll share a really special Al Davis story about that.
We have time all the time.
Want it now?
Yeah, sure.
All right. One time in the organization, in our history, however we want to phrase that, there was someone, Bruce Allen, who it was very clearly was looking to reposition the organization, reorganize the organization, move me aside, take things over. And it was bad for the team. It was resonating throughout the organization. And I'm going to share with you what Al Davis said to me. And you may laugh because as harsh as it may sound to others, it was one of the most special things he said to me any time in my career. I picked up the phone and I called Al and I said, look, I know we all know what's going on. We all know that Bruce is looking to jockey for position and we all know what Bruce is trying to do. And it's not healthy and it's not good for the organization. And what's going on in this building as a result of this is not a good thing for the Raiders. So let me tell you right now, if you want to step aside, if you want to move me aside, if you want me to yield, I want to do what's in the best interest of the organization. And if you think that's best, I will step aside. And you know what his response was? Next time you call me, have something intelligent to say. Click. And he hung up. And I get goosebumps to this day when I think about it. And my point in raising that kind of stuff's going on in Jacksonville right now as well.
So what happened next? I just need like a punchline on this story.
That was the punchline. Next time,
but with Bruce.
Eventually he went on and went to Tampa.
But was it as simple as that, or was it like more? Was it more ceremonious?
Oh no, there was no ceremony involved. Eventually it waned, and when John was traded by Al to Tampa, and then Bruce checked in with me and said, "Do you think Al wants me to stay? Do you think Al wants me to go?" And
you're like, get the hell out and don't let the door hit you on the way out.
I allowed as how Al would be very comfortable with Bruce leaving.
Wow. Nicely put. So then what do you think is happening then with Jacksonville? Because let's face it, we're going to hear a soundbite from Doug Pederson right now. And someone had the audacity to ask him how comfortable he was with his position there.
Start worrying about your status at this point or no?
My status?
Yeah. After an 0-4 start.
I mean, no. I mean, it's kind of a strange question, but okay.
How is that a strange question? If you just paid your quarterback a massive extension, right? You're supposed to be as good as you can possibly be. How would you not feel uncomfortable with an 0-4 start to stand? Was that bravado? What was that?
I don't know, but my reaction was exactly as yours, only I would state it more rudely. How the is that a strange question? The only thing strange would have been if no one asked that question. I mean, dude, you're 0-4. Your team owner said his expectation is to win now and that this is the best team that's ever been assembled for the Jaguars. How is that a strange question?
Because the truth of the matter is, and this is how it normally goes, you're sitting in a room, he's in the front, he's got his microphone, he's standing there with a, step and repeat. And what happens, this used to drive me insane. Everyone's quiet. Everyone's waiting for somebody to jump in and ask the first question. Who's it going to be? Who's going to ask the hard question? It used to drive me insane here in LA because a lot of the time Jim Hill would want to ask the first question. He's an old school guy here in Los Angeles. And I came, and so at first I played ball. I'm like, okay, I'm new to this market.
And it's Jim
Hill. But after a while, I'm like, no. I got work to do. So I always liked asking the first question.
That's great.
And in that room, you have to say to him, Coach Pederson, you're starting 0-4. How concerned are you for your future here with the Jacksonville Jaguars? Oh, by the way, you just paid your quarterback a shit ton of money.
And oh, by the way, even if you might not otherwise be concerned, and you should be, your owner has said he expects to win now. How the was that a strange question?
That was so crazy. You would have thought that would have been a somewhat normal conversation to have, but clearly he's a little bit touchy, is a way to put it, right?
I think that's a very diplomatic way to state it, Suzy.
From one uncomfortable position to another, shall we? What's happening in Vegas with Davante Adams and Antonio Pierce? Because anybody who has a kid knows that you don't like something on Instagram or Twitter or whatever it is without the consequences. And SI had mentioned on Instagram that Antonio Pierce had liked a post inferring that there's a trade that could be happening. And then Mike Fabiano pointed out, interesting, look who liked this post. Antonio Pierce liked it because the conversation, of course, being he's out with a hammy, that supposedly got hurt in the Thursday game. He sat for the next game. What's going to happen? Are they keeping him on the bench to keep him healthy? We'll ask Michael Irvin shortly on What the Football. But Aim, anybody with a teenager knows you got to be careful with your likes.
And you have to be careful whether you like it directly or indirectly. Maybe Antonio pushed the like button. Maybe his story is his phone was laying on the bed and his cat walked on it and liked it. All right, then hide your phone from your cat.
Well, then it's his fault for having a cat.
That's my point. Hey, back off the cats.
I'm a dog person.
I like dogs too, but back off the cats because I represent them.
That's true.
And I represent dogs too.
True.
But, all teasing aside, it is your responsibility. If he pressed the button, that's an issue. If it was pressed inadvertently, it's still his responsibility. And you're absolutely right. This is what parents tell kids all the time. Anything you do on social media can resonate against you in the future. And it'll be very interesting to talk to Michael about this and see how it unwinds. There's been rumblings about possibly trading him. We all know Davante went to the Raiders because he was so excited to play with Derek Carr. That was one of the big reasons. Derek's gone. It's been pretty clear that there have been issues with Davante. We'll see what happens.
And it's interesting because he has a coach who played. And so he has a coach who understands the pressure that's on him, being unhappy, being on a team that he feels somewhat frustrated on. But at the same time, this is a job. This is not college football. This is for the big boys. And so I wonder if he's hurt or not. I wonder if that hamstring is for real.
That's an interesting question. You know, your point about this is a job is absolutely right. I will tell you that during my years in the league, the one position where you'd hear a little bit more emotion and some emotional reactions and responses was the wide receiver position. So it'll be interesting to talk to Michael about that.
I mean, we have somebody who's been known for being, emotional. So it's like the absolute perfect. And you're right, because the running, because obviously, like, I look at life through the lens of Michael and Marshall, right? The two guys in those positions that I'm closest to. And you're right, because Marshall shows no emotion. He's a cold-blooded killer, right? And you look at the personality difference. I never thought about it till right now.
We always teased about it within the organization about, yep, that came from the wide receiver room. Yeah. And by the way, that's okay. You ask players to play with emotion, so don't be surprised when they show emotion. We just noticed it came more from the wide receiver room than from anywhere else. I'll tell you one thing, Suzy. Something's been swirling around about a potential trade of Davante, and people have mentioned, well, with the Chiefs injury, no. You don't trade. You generally don't trade within your division. You sure don't trade Davante to the Chiefs. Please don't do that, Raiders. And if you do it, I think there'll be daggers shooting out of Al's coffin.
We will ask Michael Irvin shortly about that. Not about the daggers out of the coffin, but maybe about the trade.
But did you take on cats? Did you kind of diss some cats?
I'm allergic to cats. I'm not a cat person.
See, I do all animals. I've had dogs, cats. I had goats, a horse.
I can do horses. I can do goats.
Rodents?
You didn't know rodents are disgusting. Come on. I had actually.
Come on, growing up, I had guinea pigs. I had hamsters. No. I had mice.
I had mice for a science experiment.
Don't start with me on science experiments.
I got to leave this conversation behind. This is getting me very frightened because we're getting into uncharted pet territory. And by the way, that is a whole other podcast. To start talking about that as well. But dogs, cats, I can't do rodents, but what I can do is try to help you guys learn things in this podcast. I'm trying to educate the masses about football and about life and about how to find a job. That's my newest thing I want to talk to you about, and that's LinkedIn, because I have a nephew, Jack, who's looking for jobs these days, and he's on LinkedIn, and it is so fantastic. It's a world I was never exposed to when I was trying to get a job and trying to sneak into different networks to try to find myself a television job. How much easier it would have been to have something like LinkedIn.
And not only easier for the people seeking jobs, tremendously beneficial to those who are looking to hire. And I can tell you from someone who went through a lot of resumes when we were looking to hire, would have loved to have LinkedIn back then.
Yeah, because when you're hiring for a small business, you want to find quality professionals that are right for the role. That's why you check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs has the tools to help you find the right professionals for your team faster and free. And that's exactly what these kids can do. It's not just a job board. LinkedIn can help you hire professionals you can't find anywhere else, even those who aren't actively searching for a new job but might be open to the perfect role. In a given month, over 70% of LinkedIn users don't visit other leading job sites because why would they have to? If you're not looking on LinkedIn, you're looking in the wrong place. 86% of small businesses get a qualified candidate within 24 hours. Hire professionals like professional on LinkedIn. So post your job for free at linkedin.com/WTF. That's linkedin.com/WTF to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. As promised, Michael Irvin joins us now. Michael, thank you so much for your time as always.
Hey, thank you for allowing me to spend such a few moments with such beautiful, lovely ladies that are talking about this great game of football that we have. So I'm always happy to join.
Thank you.
And we love having you. Let's talk about Davante Adams. What do you make of this whole situation going on in Vegas?
It's a little surprising. It's surprising because you have two football players. I mean, Antonio, Coach Pierce, head coach for the Raiders, that's a football player. Certainly Davante Adams is a football player. And I know they had a bond that helped get Antonio Pierce that head coaching job. So I thought that Antonio Pierce, even in the midst of any conversation that's going on regarding Davante Adams, would at least reach out and have a conversation with him. So I'm a little surprised. Knowing Antonio and knowing the kind of guy he is, they haven't had a conversation.
And, you're such a passionate player. So, like, put yourself in his position. Like, what do you think he's thinking? And how different is it now with social media? And you know how it is. You've got kids. A click means everything. A like, people are dissecting that.
Yeah, and we don't, we know it's like, what direction did that go? Sometimes you can like things and say, okay, I'm going to take this as a receipt when it doesn't happen. I'm going to make sure I shove it right back in your face. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes you're just angry and you're looking at things. But the fact that a report comes out afterwards that they are looking into possibly trading him. Hey, Davante Adams understands the business. He's been traded before. So that's how he got to the Raiders. He understands when he looks at the current landscape of the Raiders that he's a valuable commodity to some teams that are contending. And we are in the commodity business. I'm just shocked that they haven't had conversations because they're football players. They both understand the business of this game.
And the interesting question in that regard is how much of this is on the lap of the GM, Tom Telesco? How involved is Antonio? I would hope that they're both collaborating on a decision like this. But, you raise a good point about Davante being traded in the past. He was thrilled to join Derek Carr, and Derek is now gone. How does that factor into the analysis, both for Davante and the team?
Right, in a lot of ways. And once he came in for his old quarterback, his college quarterback, and they were up under another head coach. There's been a lot that transpired since he made the decision to go to the Raiders. And the Raiders will tell you that, boy, that thing certainly didn't go out and play out like they wanted it to play out. So like any business, you got to now start looking for best options and how do you make it get from where it is to where you want it to be. And I go back in the day to Jimmy. Jimmy traded who they thought were the best player in the league at the time, and Herschel Walker, to get a boatload of people to help Dallas get from that 1-15, and 3-13 season to winning 3 Super Bowls in a few years later. So, you got to always look into those opportunities and look into those options, especially with what it looks like right now. And I know Davante loves being with his family, being home, but I also know he'll probably love the right opportunity to win a ring also and get a championship.
That raises a really interesting point, the opportunity to win a ring, because one of the rumors that has been swirling about is with the recent injury. I know, I'm going to say it.
Don't say it.
Let me tell you something. I don't think...
It makes football unfair. It makes football unfair.
Well, and I'll tell you something. When I heard the chitter chatter about, the Chiefs might be interested in Davante, the first thing I thought of is that in that coffin, Al Davis must be like whacking the top of it saying, don't you dare send him to the Chiefs.
Al Davis, I'll be whacking the top of that casket. I'm going to tell you right now, everybody's going to be whacking the top of a casket because it'll kill us all. It will kill us all if they send Davante Adams to the Chiefs.
Can't fathom they will.
It will be over. Let me tell you why. And Chiefs have a particular problem here. And you can't just go, even though Andy Reid is so great at picking up any players, and fitting their skill set into his game plan to make them valuable. You ever notice how other teams can't do that? Other teams can't find players like a Juju Smith-Schuster, guys that are not doing much and still incorporate them in a big way into their game plan. Guys like Andy Reid, Kyle Shanahan, Sean McVay, those guys can do that because they're great offensive-minded guys. So yeah, you go and get a Davante Adams because this is what they need. Is a Davante Adams. They need a talented receiver that really can win on the outside. You still got Travis Kelce, Xavier Worthy, and Hollywood Brown now are your deep threats. So you got that established. What you need is a good, strong outside guy, like Rashid Rice was, that can also play inside and understand the game, and that is perfectly Davante Adams. If you give him Davante Adams, it's no longer a fair fight. It's not. I would call that cheating. That's just cheating. You cannot send the Chiefs Davante Adams.
So what's your gut telling you? It's going to be Davante Adams to the Chiefs?
No, I don't know if the Raiders could do that. If he was anywhere else, boy, that would be a scary thought. But there are other guys out there that I say could fit in with what the Chiefs are doing. But Davante probably the best, because you don't need you got the Michael Thomas and all of those guys out. But those guys are basically slot guys. The Chiefs need an outside guy that can win outside. And Davante, the Amari Coopers, guys that you heard that are unhappy. Those kind of guys can really be devastating if they were over with the Chiefs.
So put yourself in Davante's shoes, as you can do so easily. I mean, last year, here's a quote from their receiver show on Netflix. This is during a sideline moment, week 6 against the Patriots, and he got really banged up. I don't know if you remember that game or not. He said, and I know you've never heard me drop an F-bomb before, but I got to get the out of here before I lose my life. I ain't never been hit this many times in my career. Every time I get up, every game I get up. Now, it sounds like an angry man, right? So the question is it a hamstring now? Are they just holding him out because they want to keep him as healthy as possible before trading him? Do you think he just wants to get out? Like, what do you think is really happening behind the scenes here?
Well, there's a lot in that. We got when is it, early November, the trade deadline?
Election day, believe it or not, yep.
Right. Okay.
Because we got nothing else going on.
Right. It's crazy. The NFL going to jump in on that. They couldn't push that some which way or the other, but that's the NFL. They move for no one. You know what I mean?
That's right.
But,
what do you mean election day? We've got a trade deadline here at 5:00 Eastern time. I mean, like, election, what are you talking
Which,
about?
by the way, is so unfair to West Coast teams. I used to bristle at the fact that they'd say, the deadline 5:00. I'm like, dude, it's 2:00 here.
Yeah,
Give us
like
3 more
midday.
hours. Yeah.
Right. 3 big hours in the workday. That's huge. That is huge. In our days and our time. But yeah, if you could get someone, that's going to be interesting to see and interesting to watch what happens with all of that by that trade deadline.
But
if I'm Davante, though, if I'm Davante, I understand his business, and you want, and right now you're a young guy, you're guy in your prime, you're talented. You're the only thing on that team everybody's going to focus on, and you really don't have a quarterback. You came from Aaron Rodgers and Derek Carr, and now what you're playing with now is just, with Minshew and everything. So, yeah, that's just that's tough. It's tough. You got to keep your mind, keep your head. You're hearing people talk about this is what would have killed me. You're hearing people talk about who's the best receiver in the National Football League, and your name is no longer being thrown about in that conversation because not because your ability is no longer there, it's because you don't have the quarterback to get you those opportunities like you had before. So that's frustrating too.
All right, Michael, we talked about my former team, and I don't believe they should trade him to Kansas City, and I don't believe they will trade him to Kansas City, and Al would pop out of that coffin if they did.
You better believe.
Let's turn to your former team for a minute. What did you think about Jerry's comments that they could not afford Derrick Henry?
Well, I thought it was absolutely crazy. It sounds crazy, because to us, when you see a Derrick Henry, you say, what? Only $16 million for Derrick Henry? You're seeing $250 million here, $140 million there, 30, to 100 something million. You got to give Michael Parsons. And Derrick Henry seems like the kind of talent that fits in that lane. And how can you not find $16 million, which really is only $8 or $10 million if you really do a 1-year deal. So it's hard for people to fathom. I understand Jerry knew he had a lot of money to spend out, and he didn't understand how that salary cap would play out. But I'm a firm believer these guys know how to work that cap. Either you spread more money out, or you lower the cap by spending money, future money, just like the Rams did when they kind of bought their Super Bowl and bringing in all that talent. It's just how much do you believe in what you have now, and And are you trying to really get it over the hump? Because right now, the problem with the Dallas Cowboys, I'm not even worried about stopping the run anymore. It's just about being able, can you do what you've done the last 4 or 3 years when you won 12 games? Just score 35, 38 points a game. That is going to be the way you win football games, because you can't. That rush defense isn't going to get good enough or much better to make a real impression on the Cowboys this season. You got to be teams with scoring points.
So what can they do?
What do you mean? They got to find, by that trade deadline, I hope, another offensive weapon. And from here to then, for this next month, somebody has to emerge as and I know Ferguson tight end does pretty good, but you need somebody to emerge as another viable weapon that can consistently make plays.
But that's
Teams
the thing.
are going
But
to be
Michael,
very
this is
physical
insane.
with you.
But it's
What's
crazy.
That? What do you mean?
But it's crazy because they could have had Derrick Henry.
But it's crazy. It's crazy. And you could have had him. He wanted to come. We're lurking around that $16 million deal, or $8 to $10 million for 1 year for Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry really wanted to be in Dallas because that's where he trains. He may have talked to you and even did a better deal. You know what I mean? And we didn't make that call. That was the disappointing part for Cowboys Nation and Cowboys fans.
And Michael, you made a great point about the salary cap. The salary cap is nothing more than a method of accounting. You've got gap accounting, you've got tax accounting, and you've got salary cap accounting. You're absolutely right. That could have been jiggled and juggled to make it work.
Jiggled and juggled. You guys know how that
You can quote me on that. Jiggled and juggled.
Jiggled and juggled.
So,
That's
I
a
mean,
hell of a statement.
so when you're watching them now, and it just feels like they're always in the same position, I don't get it. I don't understand why a guy who wants to win as badly as Jerry Jones does, why he makes these decisions the way he does.
Well, and Suzy, to Jerry's, well, I hate to say defense because people jump on it, but to his defense, the last 3 years, the Cowboys won 12 games each year. They've gotten in the playoffs. They played Green Bay and San Francisco and got sent home. I'm with everybody this year on the lack of anything that Jerry and the Cowboys did. But I won't lay it all on Jerry over those last few years. Jerry didn't take one snap in that Green Bay game.
That's right.
You got a team there. Jerry didn't take one snap in that San Francisco 49ers game. You got the team there. You got a team talented up. I think a GM's job is to try to get a team somewhere in that top 6, 7, 8 rung. The margin of victory, guys, you guys know this is so small in the NFL. Any one of those first 6, 7 teams in the NFL, you can win the Super Bowl. This is not basketball. This is not a 7-game series. It's, are you good on that day? Can you do it on that day? And it's not just skill. Whatever Jerry brings to the table when he brings in players, he's bringing in the skill. But these players also have to come together, since we're going up against another man. It's man-to-man, hand-to-hand combat, and have a collective will. You see, Jerry's bringing in enough skill. These guys aren't coming together and having a collective will when they get in tough times in games like Green Bay and San Fran, and they lose. I can't put that on Jerry. He ain't take one damn snap in that game.
He's right.
You were right there. Win the damn game. Stop talking to me about Jerry. My job, I've always said, when I got to Miami, they had won a championship. My job is to put my championship on the damn table. When I got to Dallas, they had already won a Super Bowl. My job is to put my Super Bowl on the damn table. Somebody else built it, help it become great. Your job while you have it is to do things that they did with it.
Okay, so
I tell the Cowboys to put that Super Bowl on the damn table. Stop talking to me about Jerry and put your Super Bowl on the table. That's on the players. I put that on the players, not on Jerry.
Okay, so 2-part question. Are we going to see a new coach in Dallas next year? And if we do, are we going to see Bill Belichick roaming that sideline at the Star?
Well, that'd be that's an interesting thought. It's a very interesting thought because Bill, we know, will come with wanting to take over total control and the way he likes to do things. And Jerry has the way he likes to do things. So it'll be interesting to see. I know Jerry's fond of Bill. He's a very talented, a great coach. He is the greatest coach of all time, if you ask me.
I agree.
No doubt in my mind. No doubt in my mind. So I know he'll kick the tires on that, but there are a lot of things going on out here. You know, the people talking Bill Belichick. I know Jerry tried to swing low, sweet Cheerio, and bring Dion up in this thing. We don't know what's going on. But it'll be an interesting offseason, especially if the Cowboys are eliminated from that playoff early. And they have the toughest schedule right now that I've seen in quite a while in the National Football League coming up.
And the way Jayden Daniels is playing, you have to wonder if that's in the tea leaves, huh?
Dude, there's the scary. Right there is the scary. Not just for Mike McCarthy here in Dallas, but for Sirianni over in Philly. Mm-hmm. Because right now, both of those guys are sitting there saying, oh, snap. If Dan Quinn done found his win with that young dude, we're going to be in trouble for a long time. And that's exactly what they look like. This kid looks so poised. I mean, when I'm watching Washington right now, we're talking about, are they the best team in the NFC East? I said, you can bump this East and start talking conference when you're looking at what this team and how this team is playing. And projected growth. Project this kid's growth over the next 2 months, 2 months, and tie it down to the growth that he's had this month. You're talking about some incredible things from this young man, Jayden Daniels, and scary things if you have on any other helmet besides that Washington Commanders.
Hey, Michael, you mentioned your time in Miami. I hope you're taking a good look at the hoodie I'm wearing. And I want to know if you want to make an ice cream bet. Because when you bet ice cream, no one loses because you both get ice cream. You want to bet ice cream on this week's game, Miami at Cal?
I would definitely put ice cream on that game, especially after last week's game and the way Miami played that game. I mean, I was out there on the sideline with those guys. What's funny, guys? I was trying to tell these young men because, and I firmly believe that these kinds of games determine the kind of life you'll have. I really believe that. That's what I was telling them. I was like, man, listen, right here, right now is the moment that you determine what kind of life you want to have. Am I going to be a winner for the rest of my life, or am I going to be coming up short the rest of my life? You see, these moments give you confidence when you win games like they won last week, those tight, hard-fought games. This means that you're going to win in life because you take the same approach that you take right here and saying, I will not let these dudes stop me from writing my story the way I want to write my story. That's just the bottom line. That's what we're trying to do. These kids are more talented. I just want them to see, like I just talked about, you got all the skill. I just want to make sure I ingrain that will so you get the job done.
Now, let me just tell you one thing. You're saying all this nicely and calmly, right? And you're, giving me a nice sermon, and I get it. I saw you out there, Michael.
Yeah.
You were losing your mind. You were sweating. You were dancing. You were giving a sermon. You lost your mind. You lost your mind.
He did just give me goosebumps. But what he just said gave me goosebumps. I want to run through a damn wall for you.
Right. I was losing my mind because I want to give it to him. I want to get it to him. And guys, you walk in places as a champion. There's a difference when you walk in the room. You're walking as a champion. People that come sit in my office, they sit across from me. I got Super Bowl, national championship, all kind of trophies back there to remind them who they're doing business with and what kind of deal I'm going to need. You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. It follows you everywhere the rest of your life. That's why it's so important to take those kinds of moments and make sure you win.
I mean, it was so great watching you because that's so your element. I know that's where you're happiest, on the sidelines of that game down there with all those young guys around you. I'm curious, if you were to take that same energy right now, pretend you're in Dallas, pretend you're walking in, the Star's in the center. If you were to go to the Star and get that fired up with all the present day Cowboys around, what would you freak your mind out of? What would you say to these guys in the same way you spoke to those Miami players?
Well, for them, I would tell them that this opportunity they have, this is it. This is it. We've been dealing with this non-ability to stop the run for a while. Defense is a lot of effort and togetherness. Everybody has talent, but it's got to be about that effort and togetherness. I need the Cowboys to play one man with the other, each man for the other. Play your gaps, stay sound, and do not let any man beat you. All I need you to do is make a promise. One man to the other, each man for the other. I will get my damn job done today. That's how they win games. They got to make a promise. I will get my damn job done today to each other, and then go get their job done. I don't hear anybody complaining about it. I don't hear anybody talking about it. You heard Dak talking about it on the sideline. People and guys got to be more professional. I was so happy CeeDee Lamb came out and apologized, saying he's got to handle it more. He has to be more professional. That's exactly what they need to do. Move out, remove all the excuses, and start searching inside and saying, I will get my damn job done today and every day. And that's how they can get where they need to be.
Before we let you go, and I know you do have to go, was that a touchdown in the Virginia Tech Miami game?
Was that a thing? No, it was not a touchdown. The guy came down on a guy. Now, it was already out of bounds. I appreciate what they did. What they did was smart because they went and called the touchdown so you can review the play afterwards. So I think that was smart that they did it. But the problem is this. How the hell are they going to play with my emotions like that? You know, I thought we had won that game. It was over. We were going crazy. Then they called that touchdown. I was walking into the locker room crying. And then they came back out and changed it. That's when Jason Taylor came and ran and grabbed me. Oh, we won. It was such a great moment. Guys, you hear it all the time. You hear people say what you miss when you retire and what we miss when we walk away is that unity and with the guys and being on the field. And man, it was just great to be down there with those guys and having that moment with those guys. And yeah, that's fun. It's going to be a great game this weekend. I'm looking forward to it, and we can definitely put that ice cream on.
Ice cream bet is on. Everyone heard it.
And you live or die, right? You live or die with Miami even more than the Cowboys, correct?
Yeah. I live or die with both of them. They're both, I love them both. And it's both family. And it's family. And we carry that. What we had in Miami is what we brought to Dallas. It's not a breakup. It's an extension thereof. You see what I'm saying? It's just different marks that we honor.
But if you had to pick one, come on, you're in a lifeboat.
The way I pick one, I always say, I pick the one I won a championship in.
Oh, that's cute.
Nicely done.
That's cute.
Nicely done.
That's cute. Last thing, Cam Ward, how good can this kid possibly be?
He's a great quarterback, but even as good as he is at quarterback, and he's a better leader. And that's what Miami needed at that quarterback position to get back to our glory days. We needed a leader who impressed upon everyone how important it is to have the kind of practices that Miami is having. And when I talk to Coach Cristobal and what he says and how he tells me everything is going, that's the difference maker that we have. And the rest of those guys are following right along.
All right, Michael, I want to be respectful of your timeout. You got to go?
Yeah, I do. I have to.
Damn it. Damn it. You know I hate to say goodbye to you.
Yeah, we'll jump it up. And we'll see about dinner next week also.
I can't wait. Michael, thanks so much for your time.
Thanks, Michael.
All right, love you guys.
Yeah, that was very cute. The whole idea of I've won championships at both places. We know that. You have to ask the guys sometimes to was it throwing out the bathwater with the baby or whatever? Pick one. Pick one. It's their moment of I think I just picked the absolutely wrong expression, but you know what I'm saying? Where's your heart? For Rich, everything's Michigan. And he's like a ridiculous Jets fan, which is like, you got to be kidding me. And so he'll always pick Michigan. He'll always pick the Yankees. But like, I think if you're a college guy like Michael, like you're a hurricane through and through.
Well, you went full Suzy journalism professional with him when you said, no, you got to pick. You got to pick. And his answer was phenomenal. And by the way, I don't think enough focus is spent on Rich being a Jets fan and you being a Patriots fan, because you know what this shows us? We can all get along.
Sometimes. I'm impossible to live with. You should know that. I will say, though, that seeing him on the sidelines just made me think yet again what an incredible coach he would be.
Well, to that point, when he shared with us, when you asked him, what was it you said to those athletes on the sideline, and he shared that with us, I got covered in goosebumps. I wanted to run through a wall for him. You're absolutely right. He would be a tremendous coach.
He gave a speech at Taylor's baby naming. He is Taylor's godfather. And it was so breathtaking. I've heard him speak so many times extemporaneously. And there are a few people that will make you as emotional as Michael. I mean, I just had a baby, so I was going to cry at anything anyway. But and Rich, of course, is so crazy emotional, so he'll cry at anything too. But he's just such an incredibly impactful speaker. And you can only imagine what some of the young players who are Hurricanes think of when they look at him. And the reason why I asked him about the Cowboys was when these are grown men and they're getting jobs, even though you're a Hall of Famer and you're Michael Irvin, sometimes they don't take in the information the same way. Because if they're sitting in that locker room, they're like, I'm an NFL player. I don't have to hear from you. But talking to those kids on the sidelines the way he did, and I thought he was going to pass out at one point. He might just have blacked out because he was so excited down there. But it is so much fun to watch him in his element.
Well, it really and truly did give me goosebumps, and everything you said I agree with. But I want to note, how do you like to stroll into life? You're Taylor. Yeah, yeah, that's my godfather.
By the way,
that's my godfather.
I mean, I was like, if somebody ever tried to screw with her, I'd be like, I will send her godfather after you.
Exactly right.
Are you going to go to the game, Meme? I think you should go.
I may go. And, I just want to underscore the fact that I'm here in my Cal hoodie. Fight for California. Roll on, you Bears. The bear does not quit. The bear does not die. And I now have a bet with Michael Irvin on the game. We've bet ice cream. Are you hearing me, Cal football? I have a bet on this game, ice cream, with Michael Irvin.
So I think that you should give a straight pitch to College Game Day, because I guess they're going to be there on campus. So what's your pitch for the Bears and this game coming out? And I want to get this on Game Day.
All right, College Game Day. You need to get Marshawn Lynch involved in the show. He should be your guest picker, and you have to have him drive the golf cart around the field and make sure it skirts real close to that Miami sideline.
And that's it? You're not going to stand up and put on a mascot hat or anything crazy?
If I had a mascot hat with me, I'd put it on. But I am wearing for those that are listening and not watching, I have on my Cal hoodie. It says Cal. It has Oski, who is my best friend. Hi, Oski, wearing sunglasses, as I often do. And just to double down, I have my Cal UC Berkeley baseball cap on.
Nice. All right, go and have the best time ever. We will be back, of course, next week with another edition of What the Football. Planning ahead, Rod Woodson will join us, which I can't wait to have him on.
Can't wait.
I mean, talk about insight onto Derrick Henry.
Right.
So I thought that was a perfect, when Michael was talking about it, we were talking about, and again, I still don't understand how he's not a Cowboy, but I'm sure that people will explain to me.
And Michael, when he loses the bet, can have the ice cream delivered here to the Rich Eisen studio.
Perfect. So tune in next week for our conversation with Rod Woodson. We've had so many great conversations already. We hope that you enjoyed this one. Go back into the archives, take a look at a couple more, but we can't wait to talk to you again next week. Have a great week, everybody. Enjoy that football game.